Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Start Small, Think Big podcast brought to you by Digital Meld. My name is Brad Grew, co-founder and CEO of Digital Meld. And this week, we are at the Pro-Forma Texas AI Challenge at Dallas-Fort Worth Startup Week. That's right, we're on the road this week, chatting with folks live from the Dallas-Fort Worth Startup Week. This session was recorded on site at Southern Methodist University's Cox Business Campus, and we were lucky to take part in this great event. And we were there for dinner Wednesday night, and then at the event itself, and then actually at the presentation ceremony to figure out who the winners of the Texas AI Challenge were. And what's about to follow are going to be interviews with folks we had during that session, and also with the winners and the runner-up and the second runner-up towards the end. We did have some technical issues, so you may only have audio for some of it, but for the most part, we have everything you need. This was the first time recording on the go. We will make improvements for the next time we do that. But at the end of the day, I think the audio is pretty good for most of what we were capturing. And the insights provided were invaluable. We were talking with people who are very, very successful in the startup space, who know Texas really well, who know the startup industry really well, who know the business really well, who know AI really well, who know technology and growing and business and everything in between. I'm talking to previous winners and this year's winners. And so we couldn't be more blessed to have been part of this. And it was fantastic to take part in. You know, the drive to Dallas is not my favorite drive from Houston, but at the end of the day, it was worth it so much more. I can't wait to go back next year. And I can't recommend it highly enough. If you are in Texas next time, check out the DFW Startup Week and then also the Texas AI Challenge brought to you by Pro-Forma. Thank you again to Pro-Forma for inviting me. If you don't know who Pro-Forma is, go to pro-forma.com. They help startups get everything they need to get funding. So basically everything you need to create your business plan and your financials and all the stuff that investors look for, they help you get there. I was a semi-finalist judge for this competition, so I got to see the 12 semi-finalists and I got to vote on them. The final 3 finalists were decided on a panelist who were there. We interviewed most of those panelists on this podcast, and like just couldn't have been more impressed with the event that was put on and the staff we dealt with and the SMU campus and just being there and taking part. And so thank you again to Pro-Forma and everybody involved with that event, the Dallas-Fort Worth Startup Week, and then also to Texas AI Challenge. Thank you so much. As for the podcast, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled weekly releases starting this week. And then, so just look forward to that. If you're interested in taking part, please reach out to us at contact@digitalmeld.io, or add me on LinkedIn, Brad Grew on LinkedIn, follow Digital Meld on LinkedIn as well. We would love to have you on and talk about AI and automation and all the things in between. So thank you so much. Until then, please enjoy these great conversations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Start Small, Think Big podcast brought to you by Digital Meld. My name is Brad Grew, co-founder and CEO of Digital Meld, and I'm live at the Pro-Forma Texas AI Challenge here in Dallas, Texas. I'm joined here by Jamey Smith, who is a Texas AI Challenge winner, correct?
Yes.
Previously?
Yeah. So entered into the contest for Pro-Forma last spring, and I think it was the inaugural one. So it was the first one and had the opportunity to win.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're at the event tonight where they're announcing the next winner from the Pro-Forma Texas AI Challenge, which is really exciting. It's exciting to be here. And we had a dinner yesterday evening and got to meet with all the VCs interested in the things that are happening in the Texas AI space and startup space. And then also, obviously, the participants in the competition. And it's just really awesome to see, especially, Texas is growing. We have folks from universities and stuff. We're here at SMU's Cox campus really as well. So it's great to see that Texas is growing in the venture space, but also the startup space. And I think the goal of what Pro-Forma is trying to do here, talking to folks last night, is what they're trying to do is kind of remove those the silos where we have Dallas-Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston, and kind of bring it up as Texas AI.
Yeah. So when they were in the first contest, I actually had the opportunity to compete globally. So it was actually opened across the whole country. And I just happened to be in the backyard. So the whole team is here in Dallas, but I'm specifically here in Houston. But yeah, it's really great to see how many startups are coming not only out of just Austin, but also the Dallas area, San Antonio, and Houston as well.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us about Driven Telematics and those sorts of things?
Yeah, so I've been in insurance for almost 2 decades now. I started off as a nationwide insurance agent. And part of that experience, you really get an opportunity to see multiple facets of the business. You get to see the carriers, you get to see agency, you see the sales channel, you see the underwriting channel. And so a technology that's prevalent in there is telematics, which if you have auto insurance, they ask you to download the app. You go driving and then it tells you how well you drove. And then based upon that, you get discounts, right? And so we really found that the adoption of telematics was extremely limited in the independent channel. which just means agents were really participating. It was very, very popular with the carriers. And so we had a vision of what would it be like if we took that technology and was able to give it to the agency force or help with adoption so that more individuals have an opportunity to establish a driver behavior score on themselves. And then they could take that data as the owner of that data and go and shop multiple carriers at once. And so right now, what we are building here in the United States is we are building two different contributory databases and working with carriers to kind of unlock this technology so that individuals can establish a driving score, which we have a trademark, my driving score, similar to like a credit score. And then you're able to take it and you could take it to multiple carriers and unlock their best pricing.
That's great. And for those that aren't from Texas, in Texas, we have quite high insurance premiums. And so anything we can do
Very
from
high.
theft and then road debris, we have tons. We're just known for road debris, just ladders falling off of trucks and those sorts of things, and those things. And so it's funny because having not even discussed really what Driven had done before, other than last night, I have experience with telematics. I was an architect for Cooperators Auto, which is out of Canada, Geico of Canada.
Yeah.
Their mobile app.
Okay.
That's one of my previous startup that I worked for before founding Digital Meld was building that platform. For those folks that don't know the insurance industry, and I worked primarily in the insurance industry with Chubb and many of the other large organizations, but the underwriting process for insurance is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like an absolute nightmare. And each company does it completely differently and stuff, but they're pulling data from these disparate systems. And so when you have these, cutting edge technologies like telematics, it helps transform the still business model.
It really does. And I think there's some fear of, hey, I don't want my company tracking me. And, I don't want necessarily them to know my location at all times. And so I think that's why an independent and giving the opportunity of getting that data into the hands of the consumer is so important. One of the major things that we offer to all of our clients is their geolocation is masked, and so that they can have confidence in knowing that all the companies that may want to use their data aren't actually seeing where they are. So just like with your credit score, right?
Mhm.
The credit score doesn't actually tell you what you're buying or necessarily where you're buying it. It's just your behaviors and interacting with credit, debt, payments, and things like that. So it's the behavior centered around that. And so we want to bring it true to that. And so the original deployment of telematics, just like you were talking about, is through the carrier channel. They were the ones that initially had the technology. But I think to get it to mainstream and for the benefit of the overall consumer, it's best if we bring it to the consumer. And so that's what we're trying to do.
No, yeah, the BYOB or BYOD, right? Like
bring your own device, bring your own data, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've actually, similarly speaking, I have a condo, not condo insurance, and I went through Hippo for a couple of years because they were one like the startup darling, and they had put these little devices on your front door, and they just kept track of how much you left and those sorts of things. Would drive those. It's just those edge devices are just going to be more prevalent as the chips get cheaper and these things. We need, I guess, this is the Texas AI Challenge. So let's talk about AI and how AI is transformed Driven, and then also how you see it transforming the insurance space or.
Absolutely. So what we're definitely seeing is help in underwriting for carriers. So especially when you're talking about like large data sets, obviously the data set that we're building is extremely large. And so having AI, we deploy it one very specific way. A is to shorten the cycle of our releases. And so we use it for development in and of itself. And so, our CTO is saying now, hey, we can do in 2 hours what a programmer could do in 2 weeks. It really shifts this idea of, AI. We kind of talked about this last night. It's only as good as it's a tool. So it's only as good in the hands of who's using it. And so we have to learn how to think about problems differently. And we need to be really good at solutioning so that we can take advantage of the technology to help us. And so we have a rule where we are, and that is we don't work for the technology works for us. And so in that deployment of that, we are training individuals who are typically great coders and turning them into great problem solvers. And so now they're starting to have ownership of the product, and then we're able to move quicker in what we actually want to accomplish. AI in general, obviously, as the models are getting better, you can do aggregate market intelligence as well, which is giving carriers better information to be able to make sure that they're not overcharging you, because not all drivers are created equal. Not all risks are created equal. And so if you're a good driver or you want to be able to improve your driver, you don't want to pay for bad drivers. And we do that a lot. And so AI also helps with fraud. It really is helping fraud because a lot of the dollar that you are putting into a carrier, a lot of it's going to pay for fraud. So if we can reduce fraud, if they can understand risk better, and they can use tools like AI, then it could actually help us pay less for insurance, which would be crazy because it
Yeah.
always seems like it's going up, or it can expand the offering of insurance so that you can continue to de-risk on your own side.
Yeah, that's always great. And again, what he said was really what we echo all the time. AI is just a tool. It's a tool in your tool belt, and it's going to take you using that tool to better utilize it against your data and against your use case. And so thank you for joining us, Jamey, and thank you for telling your story and being a part of this. I think again, what we hope at Digital Meld and Start Small, Think Big is like you get involved in your local communities, not just we're in Texas here, but wherever you are to reach out and be part of the AI challenges in your area and those meetups and because we say we're building the cult of AI, and it takes a village, as they say. It is going to change the world, and it's going to change the world for the good and the better if we all come together and make sure it does that. And if not, then it's just a couple of power players,
And we don't want that.
So thank you so much,
Hey,
Jamey, and look forward to
appreciate
chatting
it.
with you later.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. All right, so now we're joined by Marcus Cooksey of DUKE.AI. And so, Marcus, thank you for joining us. And he's previously as well a Texas AI Challenge winner. So we would tell us about yourself, tell us about DUKE.AI, and then we'll just get into the conversation of what that journey's been like for you.
Sure. Yeah. It's a privilege to be here and being a former winner and understanding the impact that is had for my organization. My name is Marcus Cooksey. I am one of the founders of this life form that we're creating called Duke AI. So I tell people I'm the humble servant of this life form. And what Duke is basically an accounting agent for the freight industry. So when you think of everything that a trucking company or brokerage or even a bank, like a factor has to do, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of accounting tasks have to be involved. And so that slows down payments, increases overhead. And so what we've done with Duke is we increase this ability and the skill sets to be able to understand various forms and automatically do invoicing, do bookkeeping. So our clients today are just basically handing all of their accounting work over to Duke, and they're generating reports. They can chat with Duke to ask it, what is their spend for a specific item, search for where they're spending, get the profit and loss statements without any effort.
That's awesome. And for folks that are aware of the logistics industry, shipping and containers and those things, it's very much like a spit and handshake kind of business, right? It's still
Yeah.
a lot of stuck in their own ways. I've worked with a logistics company where they literally did everything by PDF and emails.
Yep.
And we migrated like 200 gigabyte email inboxes off of Google Cloud to Microsoft. And it's great that you're utilizing these tools because it is one of those things is, as Amazon chose as they built out their infrastructure, right? Logistics, you can use the technology to revolutionize those sorts of things. And now you'll be able to do that for the smaller logistics companies and what we like to say, punch above their weight class.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point you highlighted is because 95% of deliveries or even loads that are brokered are done by small brokers. So these are mom and pop shops, make, anywhere from 1 to maybe 10 trucks or brokerage that's maybe a 10 million to maybe $25 million brokerage. Most of the capacity most of the loads have been managed by these small organizations. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're bringing the big tech that you would typically see in Amazon. We're bringing it and making it available and one key point I wanted to highlight is we don't want to change. One of the things we've learned is what you highlighted, which is the workflow, right? So change management with these organizations is very difficult. So one of the challenges we had to come up with was how do we create a solution that meets them with where they are now, but then evolve to where we would like to see them.
That's a great point because as we help our partners as well as we call them customers. It's like we'll meet you wherever you are. We say couch to 5K, right? Make that first step, and then eventually we'll run marathons. But it's going to take some time. But that doesn't mean we can't start with those start small, think big. Those small, pragmatic, and low hanging fruit approaches to get that acceleration there. From that perspective, can you just talk about what that like onboarding journey like might look for one of these small mom and pop shop kind of clients?
Yeah. And I want to tell you how we got here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The onboard experience today is a click registration, connect to your bank account, and Duke does all the work. That's where we are today. We weren't always that way. And what we ended up doing was going to the trucking companies. We would actually go on site and we would actually say, hey, here's a gift certificate. We buy you a meal. We want to see you download the app and navigate through it. We weren't always there. And you talk about AI. We had all the AI back end infrastructure, but the onboarding was difficult. And we would see by facial expressions, they were very nice, right? They weren't going to say this sucks, this is terrible, but you could see in their facial expressions like, all right, like, And so I would call my developers like, guys, we've got to change this onboarding. That's where we are today, especially around, let's say, the bookkeeping. The onboarding, when it comes to, let's say, accounts payable, account receivable, we've done plugins with other third-party applications. So with some of our clients, it's just a matter of enabling a button within QuickBooks or within another ERP or TMS, and they're instantly turned on. So that's nothing more but exchanging keys and credentials. And once those things are done, they're set up. And so that takes only about 1-2 minutes.
That's fantastic. And again, the small iterative approach, you use that internally within your own organization and with your own product, much like you're asking your customers and clients to do as well. Yeah. And as we hope others will. So, you are a founder, and the founder journey is really interesting to a lot of folks. Can you just tell us about, to go from being a founder and then to an AI challenge winner, like what was that journey like?
I never would have fathomed that I'd be winning, that I would win a pitch competition. Mm-hmm. Actually, I never thought I would need it either, to be honest, because I came from a large corporation where we were doing foundational AI. So my journey started by working at Texas Instruments as a computer science engineer, moving up in business development, selling electronics for self-driving cars, or at that time, advanced driver assist vehicles over China, Taiwan. And that was where my interest started. But then when I was looking to start a business, I went into trucking. But I saw all of the inefficiencies within my trucking company, and my interest veered away from wanting to create self-driving cars to seeing if we can create self-propelling bots that could do the work that humans would do, that allow other small companies to operate like a large corporation, lower the operating costs, get paid faster. Certainly, I was trying to solve the problem for me and my trucking company, but I felt that was a more meaningful vision versus self-driving cars. Now, we see self-driving cars on the road. But I think we're in the inflection point in transportation where people are becoming more receptive of offloading some work over to AI versus always having to rely on people.
Yeah, and again, we like to say human in the loop, right? You have that ability here. So one thing we've mentioned on the podcast several times, because it is relevant to us being in Texas, is Aurora, the trucking company that is now, for those that don't know, they're doing autonomous trips from Dallas, where we are now, to Houston, where I'm from, every single day. They try to do it without someone in the cab, and they're only doing it on the highway. So they'll stop off the highway, then they'll put a trucker in, and they'll drive it the last 4 miles or whatever. But it's a scary thought, but at the same time, it is coming true. And I've mentioned in the past too that our economy in the United States is 25% transportation. So, and AI is going to come to that, and automation is going to come to that. So maybe you can touch base on that a little bit, and what you're seeing talking to truckers, what you're seeing talking to logistics folks, and how they can upskill themselves to prepare for this wave that's coming.
Yeah, truckers hate it.
Yeah,
right. It's coming after their job. It's perceived to be coming after their job, and I can understand it. In the status quo today, it will take their job. Mm-hmm. However, we look just 2 weeks ago, a trucker was asleep, killed 5 on the road. Mm-hmm. And then just a few weeks before that, there's a level of safety that autonomous trucks will provide. They can run 24 hours. So that's what you're going to start seeing now, because truckers cannot run 24 hours. They have a limit of only working 14 hours a day. And even really, it's only 11 hours they can work. And not to get into that, what you're going to see now is a truck now can run 24 hours. That means you still may need a human at the last mile or human in the loop in the truck. But I would encourage, people to not resist it, but to upskill themselves in other ways. How can I be, let's say, a last mile delivery person? How can I leverage my skills to be a mechanic for the sensors that will need to be calibrated on a regular basis? These sensors have to be on precision. We're changing where the skill set needs to be. And I would just encourage people to embrace it. It's coming. I was in San Antonio last week, and I saw the Uber passenger vehicles. They were all over the place, and they were driving people safely, and people felt comfortable using it.
Yeah, it's something we preach as well, that, you use the technology, use the ChatGPT and AI. I'm a truck driver. I need to upskill because autonomous trucking is coming. What can I do? I'm interested in logistics. Yep. What can I do to do these? And the beauty is you have time. The wave is coming. It's building. But you have time and to upskill. And if you're in the trucking industry, I'm sorry, we just had insurance underwriters in our previous conversation. Once it's cheaper for the insurance underwriters to insure an autonomous vehicle over a trucker driver, that's just the way it's going to be. And that's just the reality of things. And so But I do think it's great that you're building a solution that's going to help mom and pop shops punch above their weight class, and we don't have, all these big behemoths that own the big warehouses. And small businesses run this country. 70+% of the businesses in this country are small business. So thank you again for what you're doing and for sharing your journey. And he's also a mentor, right? You're mentoring folks and helping them on their journey as well.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm most proud about is what we've done is we always talk about AI and us developing AI solutions, but we've actually trained over maybe 10 different computer scientists, data scientists within our organization. So let's face it, that job is not going anywhere. And these guys have left my organization. We've actually hired them, but we have a cap at our organization because we're a small startup as well. We can't pay $250,000, but we don't hinder them from doing that. My last full stack developer just got a job at Samsung. Another one just got promoted to VP. Been with me for like 3 years at another company. It's about the upskilling. Their level of mastery of understanding all of the different components is far superior than just writing a program. And so I encourage individuals, come work for us if you want to be part of that mentorship. We love bringing on people, helping upskill, because I feel like as a leader, I can't just say we're taking jobs. I actually have to help people understand the other elements of it, and so that they can be upskilled for the future jobs of tomorrow.
That's awesome. That's a great, call to task. And we had dinner yesterday. We were at the same table yesterday, and we talked about put good things out there, good things will come back to you. And I think with AI, that's what it's going to take. It takes a village. We don't know. It's a wild west. We don't know what is going to come. And so as we're making our journey, on the Oregon Trail, we're all helping each other.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Marcus, for joining us. And I appreciate meeting you and getting your insights. And thank you so much. And good luck to the contestants tonight.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Good being on. All right. Take care.
Welcome back. We're joined by Wade Myers here at the Texas AI Challenge, brought to you by Pro-Forma. And so, Wade, thank you for joining us. And please, Wade is well-versed in the AI space and the investment space. So please just introduce yourself and let folks know about you.
Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, I'm a general partner of a venture capital fund, the Eagle Venture Fund. We have several venture funds. We're global. We have offices in Singapore, Zurich, and here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I also have co-founded 3 venture studios, which if you don't know that model, it's kind of a one-part founding team, incubator, accelerator, and venture capital firm. And we spin up startups fairly rapidly, about 1 every 3 months for each venture studio. And I'm also co-founder of quite a few companies, founder of quite a few companies. And currently, I've got 2 AI companies that I've co-founded in just the last couple of years. So I'm really enjoying the journey as a entrepreneur and as an investor.
Yeah, well, again, when we announce this and share this, make sure you look up Wade's LinkedIn. He has a plethora of resources. Like you said, co-founder addict, or a founder addict, I would say probably at this point. I think is it the challenge of founding it and having to bring all the pieces together that really brings you to that space?
Well, I just have a lot of ideas and run into a lot of co-founders with a lot of great ideas, and it's really fun to build stuff. And what I discovered in my career is I love the early stage and putting things together, which is, fairly difficult. And not a lot of people are called to do that stage. There's quite a few people that can parachute in and run something once it's going or improve it and scale it. So I'm more of a start it and launch it type guy. And then the same with our venture fund. We invest at pre-seed and seed stage. So very early on, pre-revenue, we take those early bets.
That's awesome. And, what I've talked with the other folks about is we're seeing the rise of startups, the startup space in Texas in general. And hopefully what we're doing with Pro-Forma and the Texas AI Challenge and things is bringing all of the cities in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, who, let's be honest, we're all kind of we don't like those guys, but at the end of the day, we say we're Texan first, right? We're Texan before we're America. So it's great to see that more events are happening like this. Can you just tell us about, how Eagle's been involved with those and how Eagle's involved with the Texas AI Challenge?
Yeah. So Pro-Forma is the company that I founded, and it's really to help founders plan their venture. Everything from prepare for diligence, figure out how you should be valued, figure out how to negotiate a term sheet with a venture firm, prepare your financial forecast, et cetera. And so this AI pitch competition is sponsored by Pro-Forma to get founders on the platform, help present them to investors, and kind of match them up. And so that's why we are sponsoring the event. And one of Pro-Forma's investors is Eagle Venture Fund, and Pro-Forma is being nurtured inside Eagle Venture Studio, one of the venture studios that I founded. So kind of involved at a number of layers there, but we love doing pitch competitions. And it's just a lot of fun to draw in entrepreneurs, see all these wonderful ideas, and then promote them on social media, really give them a shout out, give them a chance to get recognized and help everybody, not just the winner. We invest in the winner, but we want to expose everyone and help introduce them to investors because that's really the pain point for so many founders. And I like to say that about half of a founder's time is wasted trying to raise capital. And then we just want to really make that much more efficient.
Yeah, and as a founder, my company's 2 years old this week, actually. And so again, I'm a builder, much like you. I like solving those hard problems, and so having to go find who do I even talk to? What is a venture? What is a venture investment? Well, I don't even know what that is. What are the seed rounds? So the Pro-Forma platform, for those who don't know, again, we'll have it in the show notes of this. But the finalists of this AI challenge, they've actually gone and produced their slide decks and their everything you would put in front of an investor. And so that's what the Pro-Forma platform is. And I will be completely honest with you. I went and looked at that and go, oh, I need to learn how to do that. All right. That's why I need to do that for our organization. So it's a great platform, a great community. And the beauty is, like you said, it was bringing together the community last night. We had a great dinner last night where each table had startup investors. We had mentors, we had startup founders. And then, so it was just a great networking experience. And just overall, it's great to see this happening more and more in Texas.
Yeah. Very good.
This is an AI driven and automation type podcast. So, you have AI foundership in your blood. Where do you see AI going within the next, or where do you see we are on the AI like roadmap right now? I like to say we're about the toddler phase, but that doesn't mean there's not billions to be made. And there's a lot, maybe like the AOL days of the internet, the Wikipedia and YouTube are still to come. Where do you see us for the AI?
Yeah, it's really funny because I started on mainframes when I was, and even back then you would write if then routines.
Yep.
And really all AI does is sort of build on that kind of logic, right? Given this, what's the right answer? Load up an expert system. I mean, we went through kind of a machine learning phase, right? And so forth. But as a tool that can be used broad, not just by data scientists, AI is in the toddler phase. And large language models, LLMs, are, they're very powerful for basic language-based tasks. And, but, they're very inefficient and they're architected in a way that is absolutely not sustainable. We run out of electricity before we run out of information. And so as an sort of an initial phase of broad-based scaled AI, LLMs are really interesting, took the world by storm. We have broad-based acceptance of that. However, that architecture will not survive. LLMs are extremely inefficient. They don't self-prune. There's data poisoning. There's hallucination. Every advanced model of OpenAI has even more hallucination rates than earlier versions, right? And so, but also just the fact that we're one stat that I heard was that in Ireland, as of March, 22% of all of their power went to AI. I mean, 22% of an entire country went to creating baby Trump videos or whatever, and you go, okay, this doesn't work. This doesn't work at all. And so what I predict is that as we grow the industry, go from toddlerhood to, child and so forth, that there'll be completely new architectures that are way more efficient on how it leverages information. And it gets way beyond just language models to where we can use AI for many, many more things.
Those are all great insights. And we've had, I love geopolitics as well. So we've done the geopolitical aspect of AI, and then how we rely on TSMC in the South China Sea and that whole thing. And power was one of the main things I brought up. Our infrastructure, it takes 8 to 10 years to upgrade our infrastructure and to build a new nuclear reactor, right? It's our bridge to fission, or fusion. And so like people don't understand, we do need a new way to do this. GPT-5 was just released today. Sonnet 4.1 was as well. But I think Google actually released their new world training model. And I think, so you're teaching it with eyes rather than words, much like a baby learns. I think a baby needs 14,000 hours of visual training to learn to be, a human being, where you need, I think it's 400 billion parameters for a model to learn. It's just interesting. But thank you so much for your insights and everything. And one last question before we let you get back to it is, what would your advice be to people who have an idea now? You're an idea man. You've seen all those come to fruition. How could they use these tools and we like to say, shut up and build, get it in front of people as soon as possible. It's not going to be pretty, but at least you're going to learn something.
Yeah. So there's so many things that an entrepreneur could do with AI. And this reminds me a lot of the .com days when it's like every day, every hour of every day, every discussion was, I could build a website for that, and it was like this discovery that there should be a website for everything. And then when we shift into mobile, it's like, oh, there should be an app for that, right? And everybody's building apps. In a similar way, there could be an AI app for almost anything. But the part of the problem is and I'll call them AI wrappers. You take an AI app that's built on top of something like OpenAI. The risk is that all OpenAI has to do is add one more feature, or Gemini adds a feature, and boom, so don't build just a feature. So to build real value as an AI wrapper to really do something, you have to have proprietary data that you own, or you have to kind of create enough of your own model and enough of your own proprietary nature of AI on top of an AI platform so that you just don't become featured out. So, but there's so many things. We are just at the beginning. There's so many applications that could be built that are very, very meaningful. What I would do is just say, go after the most expensive, most repetitive business processes you could think of that you're an expert at, and then leverage AI to automate that, and just stay in your niche, stay in your area of expertise, and then go deep on building anything that's proprietary to protect what you have, so that it just doesn't become a feature on an expert.
Yeah, that's all great advice, because you echo me the same sentiments we've shared over our previous episodes. Don't just build an AI wrapper. You can make $200,000 a year doing that as a solopreneur or something. That's great. That's not a startup. You're not build a big business out of that. So you need to start small, think big on that journey, follow that journey. And again, I tell people we are with AI utilization now like we were with the first IPA. Remember, you had the apps with it was a cigarette lighter, or you were drinking a beer, or it's a piano. That's where we are with AI.
Yeah.
But you still have the world at your fingertips on your phone now, and you can talk with it and learn about. I do like astrophysics and stuff while I'm in the car because I'm a nerd. It's just amazing, and it's great advice. So thank you so much for joining us, Wade. I appreciate it. Thank you for helping put on this Texas AI challenge and bringing the startup scene in Houston, and Texas overall up to help against, hopefully punch above our weight class against like the likes of California and Silicon Valley. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right, folks, we're back at the Texas AI Challenge brought to you by Pro-Forma. We're here with David Evans, a technologist and managing partner at Sentiero Ventures. David, thank you so much for being here. Just introduce yourself and introduce what Sentiero does.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I generally introduce myself as a technologist, entrepreneur, and investor in that order. I started coding at 14 on a TI-85 graphing calculator.
Nice.
Started my first business at 19, second business at 22. Sold my last business 10 years ago and made the flip over to the other side, investing in technology. 5 years ago, as a VC, an angel investor, 5 years ago, I stood up Sentiero because I saw this opportunity for artificial intelligence. I've worked with artificial intelligence since the late 90s with NASA, and really it was always brittle, hard to use, hard to work with. You needed specialized expertise, slow, but we were getting to the point of where it was commercializable, to where you could now start to roll it out. That was the opportunity we saw in 2019 when we launched Sentiero. And that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years, is finding companies that are using AI to solve real business problems. So make money, save money, improve customer experiences, all because of artificial intelligence.
That's great. And, it's what we tell our customers, what we call our partners, is you need to have a real, what problem do you, if the McKinsey company says, like, the first thing you do is like, what problem are you trying to solve? If we don't know a problem to solve this, all right, let's look at your processes or your SOPs. Are those documented? If they're not, hey, we're going to start there. And that's going to let us know where those problems that you need to solve are. So that's great. And I love that you have this idea of knowledge convergence. Can you just, use this in Sentiero? Can you just expound on that and what that means to you, and what, especially with the tools like AI and automation give you?
I mean, I think that the real opportunity with AI that we haven't fully begun to appreciate yet, because it came on so quickly, is how the web was sort of 1.0 version of how we make information accessible. But it's still hard to find. It's still hard to mine. You can go to Google and get an answer to pretty much everything, but you still have to dig. You get a list of links. You got to figure out which article is authoritative. You got to dig through. Maybe it's an esoteric problem, so you got to go a little bit deeper. Now we're starting to surface that information right at the first shot. So we're changing the way that information is accessed and used. And that's why we call it knowledge convergence, is that it's the collision of sort of human and machine intelligence in a way that creates better outcomes in business that's making money and saving money. But in other ways, in the education and healthcare, we expect there to be a massive change because of this technology that increases access to intelligence, whether human or artificial.
That's great. And it's, we were talking about the play on digital convergence, which is how I named Digital Meld. And like you use the word to collide. And like my pitch whenever I started Digital Meld as a blog was where technology and life collide. And that was 2008 or 2009 or something like that. And here we are 15 years later, and it's finally accessible to everyone. And that's the beauty of this. And what are you seeing as an investor and as, a startup mentor with the space of founders who aren't necessarily technical, but they can get to an MVP or a POC really quickly utilizing these things?
That's the biggest probably opportunity that we see right now. You're now empowering domain experts to ask the question in a way that they couldn't in the past, right? You would have to go and find a technical expert. You have to go and find a development shop. You have to go and find somebody to build that for. Versus you can now start to do that early prototyping as somebody that understands the problem. This is the key thing, is that you have to have that domain expertise. You need to understand the problem you're looking at before you can build a solution. So we're taking the folks that actually understand the problem and we're giving them the tools to be able to start to prototype solutions without intervention. And the interesting part about that is that you don't get anything lost in translation. Right? I've been writing software for 30 years. And if you try to describe the problem set you're trying to solve to me, there's still going to be some stuff that's lost in translation.
Telephone game, right?
It's that game of telephone versus when it's you in the driver's seat, you can start to it's really the manifestation of your ideas. So it's really a great way to build sort of early prototypes. The thing I will say is that you got to be careful with that because prototypes are faster than ever to build. But building real meaningful solutions still takes a long time. We haven't gotten to the point of where those prototypes are production ready, but now we can get them to market. We can get that vision sort of in the ether much more quickly and start to iterate much more quickly.
Yeah, the important thing with those POCs is you see that product market fit, right? You put it in front of like people you trust and your network and say, hey, does this make sense to you? Other people, if they're experts in that same realm, that's where we see the value of this. And I love that you say that it's get the tools in the hands of the experts, because we tell folks all the time, especially corporate vice presidents who talk about AI on the golf course or, a conference somewhere, a management conference somewhere. And they're like, we need to utilize AI without ever talking to what we call the boots on the ground, the actual experts who deal with this every single day. And we see this with SaaS products and IT across the board. Like, hey, we're going to onboard this new SaaS product, and the company never actually build the SOPs ever and actually adopt it. So they're paying millions of dollars a year to utilize 20% of the product. Salesforce. Sorry, I may edit that one out, but that's what we're kind of talking about. And so the beauty is, I tell people all the time, like, you're the AI expert. We work with construction engineering and oil and gas folks. I'm like, you're the AI expert. You have the industry knowledge. I just know how to use the tool. It's just a tool. The hammer it's much more, is much better off in the hands of a skilled tradesman than it is, the person who built the hammer.
I use that analogy quite frequently, is that the sort of ethos in the market has been everybody else is using AI. We need to use AI. But change that phrase to everybody else is using hammers. We need to find a way to use hammers. Sounds kind of ridiculous, right? But that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the tool over the outcome. And when you reframe it from AI to a hammer or AI to some other tool, it sounds ridiculous, but we accept it as sort of the de facto of, well, we need to do AI. Why?
Exactly.
We need to think through that a little bit more of how does it fit your processes? Do we even need AI? Do we have good processes? Do we have good deterministic rules that we've built over years in this industry that, hey, it covers 95% of cases and the edge cases really don't cost us that much, right? So it's some of the evaluation that has to go into it that, it's always a challenge in any hype cycle.
Yeah, one thing we find again, and especially the skilled trades where it comes to blue collar type work, oil and gas, construction engineering, we're going to have, as the baby boomers retire out of older generation retires, we're going to lose decades of knowledge. That's the one, like one of my previous guests is basically like the burning in the Library of Alexandria. Like, we're going to lose that over the next 5 or 10 years. And we need to use these tools to capture all that data, to understand those SOPs and like what made this company successful over the last 3 or 4 decades, to pass it on to either the machines or the younger generation.
Well, I even think that the thing that interests me is that one of the things we've done with trades over the course of the last 10 years, and frankly, all labor and all work, is we've turned everybody into knowledge workers, right? So we've turned construction engineers and bricklayers and inspectors and electricians, we've tried to turn them into knowledge workers, right? We give them an app and say, go update your app and that sort of thing. What excites me is that we now have the capability to, in real time, let's sort of AI be the one that updates the project management system. Let AI be the one that records the photos of the relevant inspection to where it's seamless for that user. Because the person that's the person that's running the cable, their job is to run cable. But we then say, hey, go run cable, then go back to your truck and spend 2 hours documenting all the work you did over the course of the day. And then it's patently unfair. And B, we don't get, to your point, a really accurate picture of what they're doing, right? Because they just want to be done with that knowledge work. They don't want to be typing on a keyboard. They want to be doing their job. So there's a really interesting opportunity in the trades to really start to change the way they interact with technology in a way that makes it more scalable in the long run.
Yeah, we utilize in most of our clients in the construction industry, utilize a tool like Procore. Like you said, you have people that are billable out at $300 or $400 an hour, on the construction site when they're getting their boots dirty, and then they have to go back to their truck and they have to fill out paperwork. It's just so one manager looks at it down the road, And so again, I think utilizing these tools with AR, VR coming up eventually, like they don't even need to go take pictures of the job site. They're just recording it as they're walking around, and just the excitement from that is like, again, skilled tradesmen are best whenever they're using their hands to build whatever they're trying to build. And so it's very exciting that we can use these technologies to gain that. And it's good to know that there's leaders like yourself out there kind of pushing for that and understanding those sorts of things. Because what we found is about half of them get it, half of them don't. But I think that's just any new technology, right? It's going to take a while for people to adapt.
Well, I always call it is that we've got this sort of natural tension between sort of call it the field worker and the knowledge worker. Is the knowledge worker needs the data to do their job. They need to know, is the project on schedule? Is it running behind? Were the inspections completed? Do we have all the documentation? Like they need to know that. That's part and parcel of their job. But the actual tradesperson, that's really not part of their job. So there is an amazing opportunity to change the way we interact with technology on both ends. Because the other thing that happens is the knowledge worker, they're doing sort of empty software piloting, right? There's stuff that they're doing even on their end that isn't adding value to the project. They're just moving things around in Procore or in Salesforce or in the software. So it's an amazing opportunity to change our relationship with compute, both in the field and even in the office.
No, those are all great insights, and I could talk to you all day, but I know you have another panel to get access to get to. And so basically, I just want to thank you for being part of the Texas AI Challenge and helping raise up the startup space here in Texas specifically. Could you just give, in closing, give a little couple of minutes of insight to people who may have an idea and how to get started and they have that like analysis paralysis? What would your advice as somebody who's been successful in a startup and also help raising many startups, what advice would you have?
Ultimately, at a certain point, when you talk about analysis paralysis, it's in some ways it's ready, fire, aim. In a weird way, I was forced to get over it. My software business that I started in 2000, I got laid off from a .com that went out of business. And I had a choice of going to work for somebody else or start my own business. And I chose to go that way. And the company I sold 10 years ago was a failed partnership with a client of my software company. So I've always had that. Luck early on. I had that luck of sort of being pushed over the edge to do it. But I started Sentiero technically in the middle of a global pandemic. Right? There's never going to be an ideal time. We started Sentiero basically as COVID was ramping up. We raised our second fund as SVB was collapsing, and they were calling it going to be like the death of venture capital.
Yep.
They still call it one of the worst venture markets in history. We're out there raising our second venture fund. So like, there's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect opportunity. But the thing I will caution is to always make sure you understand your customer need. The number one reason why companies fail is that there is no customer need. Just because you think that your customers need it, if you want to be assured that you're taking the right risk, make sure that you get some data and some information from your customers that it is a real problem. They're willing to pay to have it solved. And it's a big enough problem that there's lots of people that want to solve it, right? That's the way you can de-risk it for yourself as you go into it, is to start to get that data, is to start to get some of that validated feedback, because it doesn't matter what I think as a VC, frankly. Me writing you a check means I wrote you a check and you've got a couple $100,000 in the bank. What really matters is when you've got 100 people sending you money every month for your product. That's what truly matters, and that's what building a business is about. We sometimes put the cart before the horse, right? We hear the funding announcements of my favorite one lately is Thinking Machines, Mira Barati, the former CTO of OpenAI, raising a $10 million seed round. Well, okay, they don't have a product. What are you going to do with that?
They're betting on a person to people
Correct.
to deliver something, which if they don't know what the product market fit, which Y Combinator startup school, if you haven't looked that up, Y Combinator. That's first, find your product market fit, and then don't be afraid to. I tell people, don't be afraid to pivot more than Dr. J. Like you just when I started my business as a software and services company, and then as I wanted to build these catered solutions for companies, I realized they had no idea what they were, how they would utilize AI, and so I was like, well, I guess we're in business development now because we're consultants to help you figure what that out, help you do your SOPs. And OpenAI has just have done that same sort of thing. Now they're starting their consulting company to match what Microsoft does with their services division and things. So great advice all around. Thank you so much for being here again. We could talk, I think, all night, but I know you have some things to get to, and we have some finalists to talk to too. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the time.
Appreciate it. We're back here at the Texas AI Challenge, sponsored by Pro-Forma with
Ryan Brown.
Ryan Brown. Yeah. So Ryan Brown has a lot of experience when it comes to the startup space, correct?
Yes.
And so how'd you get involved with Texas AI Challenge?
Well, Wade asked me
Okay.
if I'd be involved, and so did Mark at over at Eagle Venture Lab. And that's just kind of how it started. I've got a little history with them. I'm an investor in the lab, and they are co-founders of my lab, or my studio.
That's awesome. And so it's been really great to get to speak to everyone and see all the great startups that have been in the pitch competition, the finalists in the competition, which they're having that momentarily. I think in the next 10 or 15 minutes, they're going to be having that program. From that perspective, what have you seen in this startup space, specifically in Texas over the last year or two, and especially with the in the injection of AI, how that's really changed things and kind of grown the startup space here in Texas?
Yeah, well, I think we first have to acknowledge that everything has AI in it anymore, right? So it's hard to say how its influence outside its influence happening globally. What I've noticed in the startup world is that people are leaning on AI a little much, and I think you need to differentiate yourself a little bit within the startup community. But also, so I'm not from Texas, but I'm raising Texans, right? And so I'm a little blind. I don't see the county lines at all. And that I've always thought about how do you create a conduit from friends, family, and fools all the way to IPO here in North Texas and DFW. And the way to do it is you really need to connect west to east and east to west. And the way to do that is to do it through capital. And that's some of the things that we're attempting to do with 1845 by bringing on a co-founder that's in Fort Worth while Trey and I are out here in Dallas. And if we can somehow create that pathway for startups to get fundraising all the way through, I think all the ingredients are here. I just don't think we haven't told our story very well. So
I think that's true. Yeah. So what would your advice be to founders who don't even really know like what a VC is, what seed rounds are? How do they get started down that path or when do they start down that path? Is it after they find product market fit? Is it they start looking as soon as they have their idea? When do you see as the ideal time?
Early as possible. I think understanding all the avenues that are available to startups. First of all, it's all just Google it, right? I mean, just search online. You'll be able to find them all. I think that's crucial, right? And it really depends on the culture of the founder. And also probably the tenure of career, seasoned life of the founder also. Is this a full-time endeavor? Did you quit your job already? And are you doing this? Is this something that you are a subject matter expertise and expert in corporate America and you found a problem that you want to solve? Depends on your stage right there. But there are so many things that are open. You've got everything from incubators and accelerators that operate in all different levels, from 501c3s to for-profit entities in that space. You've obviously got the college, university incubators that operate in this space as well. And then you've got other stuff. You've got things like 1845, the studio, Eagle Venture Lab as a lab, and those you should explore all. And make sure you find the right fit. Don't force it. Right?
Yeah, we say it takes a village. Like find the community that suits you best,
right.
Regardless of what city you are in Texas or even in we're nationwide and global. Just find your local. Go to meetup.com. And Houston, Leon Co started he's going to be our guest next week. Is Houston AI Club, and it started just with 20 or 30 people, and now it's 300 or 400 people like registering every month. It's 250, I think. And it's just people from all shapes and sizes of life and walks of life, students to senior citizens, and people that care about AI, people who are like trying to get their startups, trying to find co-founders. I think that's really important, finding a co-founder.
We're here at Dallas Startup Week right now. And so we're here at Dallas Startup Week right now. And prior to this week, Denver was the largest startup week across the country. And I think last year they had 10,000 attendees of all their programs and events. I'm told that we may be #1 this year. So I think it says a lot about what's going on here locally in North Texas. If you listen to some of the talks and fireside chats and all the events and programming that's gone on this week, you really start to pick up that most everything points to Texas. It's really interesting. And my co-founder Trey mentioned at one of his that in 10 years, Texas will be the epicenter of the startup community, period, in the country. Like, we are growing leaps and bounds by population. We have something that Silicon Valley will never have, which is the Texas Stock Exchange. I'm sorry, but they'll just never have it.
Yeah.
Well, never's a long time. But it'd be very difficult to implement, right? And have the flexibility, the tax efficiencies, the ease of starting businesses or buying businesses. There's a lot of stuff going in here. And we've got 52 of the Fortune 500 companies right today. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's really exciting, the growth within Texas. Maybe not so much from our property tax perspective, but everything else is doing really well. DFW is the fastest growing area in the nation, I think, for half a decade now at this point in a row. It's the talent's coming, and we have a lot of great higher education institutions building up these solutions. And it is really interesting to see. And I still think we're in the infancy or toddler phase of the AI and the startup boom. And so the big thing about this is, if you have an idea now you can use these tools. If you weren't a programmer before, to get to an MVP or get to a POC, to see if you have that product market fit, get feedback immediately. What would your ideal path for someone who has an idea that maybe has a career and they're thinking about making that leap? What would you see was ideal right now?
Well, you're absolutely right. The tools that Telematics exposure is just absolutely incredible. It really is. I would say more than anything, it's customer validation. That is key. So we launched 1845 a month ago, 30 days ago. And we had 50 applicants. And out of those 50 applicants, in the first 48 hours, we had 50 applicants. And out of those 50 applicants that came through, very few had any customer validation. It's like, oh, I've got a great idea. Well, is it a research project? Or can you actually commercialize it?
Yeah.
And what are the revenue streams, right? So I think that's super important, not only for, is it going to be a successful company and can you actually, sell a service or a product, but is it investable? And if you don't, you need both. So I would say customer validation is number one.
Yeah. And the Y Combinator Startup School, they're like, product market fit. That's the number one thing you have to find. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be married to your idea, because when you're building something in a black box by yourself or with a small team, and you go out and put in front of the customers, you may find what you built. DoorDash was one of those businesses. There's just all the Silicon Valley darlings. There's so many have pivoted, and you have to be not afraid to do that and just adapt. The big thing is having a good team, having good founders, having good partners and capital backing and those things. So that's all great advice. How do you see the market really changing when it comes to AI adoption? We had Wade and others in here earlier talking about basically right now a lot of people just doing AI wrappers, but to take that expertise, that knowledge that I tell people all the time, we tell our customers, what we call partners, is you're the AI expert. You have your industry knowledge, or 30 or 40 years of industry knowledge, and 50 or 60 years for your company as a whole. I just have a tool in my tool belt called AI and automation. How can I utilize that to uplift you? What do you see that differentiator? Or how do you see people building solutions that they're more catered like that?
Yeah, I think so. I've got teenage age boys, right? And they are telling me, and so are their peers, they're telling me that there is a desire to be shoulder to shoulder with folks. And I think, AI in general is fantastic for a host of reasons. But we've come out as a country, as a world, we've come out of COVID, right? And we built a generation of kids that maybe didn't have the best social opportunities through some of that experience, right? And yet they're yearning for it. So I'm starting to see a shift in that generation that's up and coming. I'm starting to see a generation of utilize AI for the betterment of what you're trying to do, but let's not disconnect each other to AI. I am not a technologist when it comes to AI. I like you, I have a toolbox, I use it, I put it back, I use it, I put it back. So I think there's a little bit of a shift that might be happening. And of course, I'm the opinion of one, I'm just talking about, in my own circle, but it feels as though you have to be really careful with AI, especially when it comes to marketing. Folks are just getting enough of it. Right. So it depends how you use it. And then you look at just LLM, the surface, we have to really start thinking about energy. There's some really smart people that are working on some really smart stuff around that.
Yeah, and we spoke about that with some of the other panelists before, like the energy, how LLMs are just extremely inefficient, how they learn, right? You just throw more and more data at them. We're learning, the world learning, Google just announced their new World 3 platform, I believe, where it's teaching them with vision and then like in simulated environments. And I think that makes more sense because that's how you teach like a toddler, a baby to a toddler to understand those things. And yeah, again, I say we're at the toddler phase of AI, much like the AOL days of the internet, right? We still haven't gotten our Wikipedia or our YouTube or our Facebooks or these revolutionary platforms that kind of change the way we communicate as a whole. But that doesn't mean there's not areas to make a lot of progress. But I think you brought up a good point. And a lot of times we say that people confuse AI and automation, or they use them basically the one and the same. And we kind of do as well. Just know that AI is not always the best fit, but if you have that standard process or standard your industry knowledge, just figure out that place to inject it where it makes the most sense.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you.
Great. And so thank you for being a part of this. Can you just, let us know what Texas AI Challenge and seeing these kind of things help for your, a new venture? How is that helping you get exposure, but how is it helping you learn to, again, as you branch out in this new venture, how to interact with founders?
Well, yeah, I think it's a continual learning. If we're able to look outside right now and look at all the folks that are here, it's absolutely incredible. I think that I was told from Mark Crumlish, the CEO, that of Eagle Venture Lab, I was told that they had anticipated 150 to 200 RSVPs, and for this Texas AI challenge, it exceeded 450. So, I mean, just that alone tells you the interest level, what's going on. For me and for what we're doing within the studio, we just want to be around a lot of smart people.
Yep.
We've built companies, we've had success with companies, we've worked within companies and grown companies, but there's nothing like almost what I was talking about with my own children. There's nothing like being shoulder to shoulder in the power proximity. It's absolutely massive. So for us, it's just doing this, right? It's talking to you, it's talking to the people outside and letting people know that, hey, North Texas on the map. Yeah. Right? Like here we are. And we have a lot of people here that are crazy excited about everything that's going on. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, as we're having this conversation, there's about 500 people on the other side of the glass doors right here, all talking about these amazing things. And so hopefully you're finding that in your local area where you are as well. And if not, start yourself, head to meetup.com and start something and get that involved, because this is the Wild West. We don't know what's coming from this. And hopefully as we all come together, we can help shape it instead of just a couple of really powerful people in Silicon Valley, having the keys to the kingdom. And that's the beauty of this technology. It's the great equalizer and helps you punch above your weight class. And so thank you again for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what you guys do.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So welcome back, folks. We're back at the Texas AI Challenge brought to you by Pro-Forma. And the winners were just announced, and you just heard those folks. Here's AJ Palermo, who's the founder of Primoria AI. And then he's also a sponsor of the Texas AI Challenge. And AJ, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us more about you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm AJ Palermo, and I am founder and CEO of Primoria AI. And we named it Primoria, Brad, because Primoria is really the first of its kind. We are building the scaffolding for artificial general intelligence. So I know you're kind of stumbling over the name, and a lot of people do, but I wanted to kind of explain what that meant. And I know people are probably curious too as we kind of go public with everything.
Awesome. And so, how'd you get involved with the Texas AI Challenge, and why did you see the need to sponsor it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Luana reached out to me, and she was curious as to where we were, in our stage of growth, and I felt that, hey, sponsoring people that are kind of really early stage and building for a niche market was a great idea. We are really building a company that is going, I feel like that's going to hedge some of the biggest companies in the industry, including OpenAI, Anthropic, etc.
Awesome. And so for your business, is that aimed more towards startup founders or just businesses in general, or just anyone who would like to utilize these technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's for startup founders, general users, yourself, even, enterprise clients, and we can even, customize it, for small, mid-sized, large scale. We'll be offering, and, when we go live here in about 8 weeks, and with our alpha launch, people can, sign up, just gen users, from gen users to enterprise to API access, you know, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of some other things we might offer, but it's going to be pretty cool, especially, you know, I really would say, you know, and what I like to call it is the scaffolding of artificial general intelligence. And it comes down to the adaptability of the system itself and how it works. And a lot has gone into the build of our vector database.
Awesome. And you know, we have a lot of folks who are just getting their feet wet with AI. We have folks who are startup founders. We have folks who are just business users. How can we adopt this within our organization? What made you give you the ability to say, because there are massive players in the space with OpenAI and Anthropic and
Sure.
Perplexity and those guys, obviously
Absolutely.
Google and Microsoft as well. What made you think that, like, because again, we see this all the time. We tell people the technology is a great equalizer. It lets you punch above your weight class. I say that probably way more than these people want to hear, but and it's great to see that a you know, smaller org can try to compete with these behemoths. And what kind of gave you guys the drive to do that?
Absolutely. So honestly, and that it's really awesome that you asked, because I wanted to kind of call like my little segment 2 years ahead.
Mhm.
Because today, and I looked on my own personal OpenAI account for ChatGPT. ChatGPT 5 is out,
Mhm.
right? And they've been talking about how it's not quite as different than, you know, from the other, like from GPT 3 to 4. You know, it's just not a huge leap. You know, it's more, and what they're doing is, you know, they're combining, you know, their models more into one model, right?
Right.
And that's been our design. You know, I started blueprinting, you know, this everything, the technical aspect of the company around 2 years ago. And the company was founded in March of this year. And I really feel like, you know, since we are so far ahead, I feel like we are going, um, you know, where the future of artificial intelligence is going. So kind of put it to you like this. And it's funny, like, so let's say like a history lesson, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about Steve Jobs and Steve Woz, right?
Mhm.
You know, they built, you know, Apple in the 70s. And, you know, back then, you know, Windows was huge, right? But, you know, computers were new. People were like, hey, you know, it felt foreign, and they wanted to build a concept that anybody could use. It's kind of the same for a lot of people with artificial intelligence, right? And I feel that with Primoria, and that's again, that's why we named it what we did. We are, I want to say, we want to be the Apple of
Mhm.
artificial intelligence.
Okay, that's great insights. And so for someone who's gone through the startup journey, who's been through this, who's been through the trenches, as we like to say, what
Sure.
advice would you give for people who maybe have that idea and are trying to take that leap and take on the behemoths? What would you say to them?
I would say that, pick a market, you know, and understand the product inside out. I mean, if you're a founder, you really need to, you know, understand. So, I mean, starting out, you know, even early in my journey, you know, I, I'm chief architect, chief engineer. I mean, I blueprinted this entire thing, and you know, as I started to scale and build up, you know, or build connections, you know, the whole time, you know, I stayed at the center of all this. So I really feel like that is, you know, the best advice uh, that I can give as any type of organization scales. CEO should try to stay at the center of it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think Costco is probably the king of that. The CEOs of Costco, people love that company. It's because they make sure that the care is put all the way from the top down, and I think that's really important. All the best organizations have great leaders, and it's pretty crazy what a leader and a leader who you know, doesn't stay at the forefront can kind of like it's just too many cooks in the kitchen, you know.
Exactly. And you know, here's the thing is, you know, working, you know, having almost 20 years in the corporate world, before I decided to, you know, start a company and go this direction. You know, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Corporate America. And you know, there's so many C-suites, you know, big organizations, you know, multi-billion dollar organizations, and they just don't know what is really even going on inside of their own companies, you know, beyond, what they're beyond reports, right? And that's something that I'm really aiming towards. no matter how, far we scale or how big we get, I want to stay involved with that. And it really starts with building the right kind of culture, vetting hard, making sure that we're bringing on the right people, the right talent, and growing from there.
Awesome. And so thank you so much for taking part, and again for Primoria AI being a sponsor for the event and helping make this all come together. Again, folks, for they don't know, there's 500 plus people outside enjoying happy hour right now after the big announcement and things. And so
Sure.
again, I would personally recommend find local events like this around you, wherever you are in the world, and get involved because it takes a village. Thank you again, AJ, for joining us.
Hey, Brad, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Texas AI Challenge just wrapped up. The presentation just wrapped up. The pitch, I was in there for the pitch for Big Sister AI, who was the champion, who came out victorious, I believe. And so we're going to have Val here introduce himself and tell us more about this innovative product and solution and how his journey's been so far.
It's very fun right now. So I have I'm so excited, and I don't believe that we win it because we just only a week ago we just planned our vacation. I just only started probably tomorrow, but it's fun. And so shortly about the Big Sister, we built personal AI assistant for salespeople. So 19 years in sales, deeply worked with salespeople. We try to build Jarvis for salespeople. And I'm happy to share this today in Dallas.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's one of those tools, I think, as a start founder myself, sales is the thing I hate the most. I like to just build solutions and help people. And sales is really hard to navigate.
I love it.
Yeah. It's really hard for founders specifically, or some folks, they like building things. And then, so any tool I think that could help streamline that process and give more insights is really valuable. And so you focus on the SMBs, and can you just tell how your tool can help uplift, small businesses to kind of what we like to say, punch above the weight class?
Yeah, today we focus on SMB, but in the near future, we plan to work with enterprise, and we have idea to be to B2C solution for every sales rep in the world. But today, SMB is the most easier way to us to show the value and maybe how it works. It's easy. The company usually have CRM, different tools, they record something, calls, video calls, different note takers. So we connect to any channel, any interaction, any activity which salespeople use for work with customers, and analyze it and bring them deeply sales core, in team sports. So we steal this idea from team sports because you have methodology, which we give you a playbook, which you can use, because the hardest thing, before any call, before any conversation with customer, you scare him. Maybe I miss something, so what I need to ask them, what I need to tell them, how I make the offer, which can be fitable for the customer. We can help with everything because we listen, analyze, and give you actionable insights and feedback. What do you need to do? What's the biggest mistake? What's your biggest gap, which you can improve and receive better results?
Yeah, Val here, if you see, if you're watching on video, he's wearing a football kit. And because they have a unique perspective to how they provide these scorecards for the sales process. Anyone who's played FIFA or Madden NFL or any of those types of sports games, they have the little cards that you can get when you unlock players. Can you just touch base? Let us know why you thought the gamification of that was a valuable tool set to track down.
First of all, gamification is just only our UX. It's how it looks like. We don't focus on big competition between salespeople. We just only use nice UX, nice UI for people who hate CRM. Because if we're talking about salespeople, we have a lot of push from everyone around, from boss, from different guys in the team, that you need to do something else. You need to fill fields. You need to bring all your calls to. So you need to do a lot of something for someone. That's why we call it Big Sister, not Big Brother. So it's not bad guy. It's not about control. So we help you, and you do nothing with us. So you don't need to put anything for Big Sister. We just only connect and give you feedback. Yeah.
That's great. And I think, again, I'm someone, our startup, we use HubSpot, and as I just get lost in there, and it's I spend more time trying to keep track of everything. And so I think it's great to have that single pane of glass, to that quick reflections, to get quick insights, to understand where you're struggling and where you need some improvement. One area I do want to say is that you are you do have customers, you are in growth. So you've gone from that startup journey from, like grinding through that and getting your first customers, getting your first sales, hiring your first employees. Can you just tell folks who may be on the fence about starting their own journey, like what words of advice you would give them if now is the time to do that?
Maybe the biggest advice from my experience that try to go to your customer as fast as you can and don't wait for the product. Don't wait for the excellent product. If you have idea, you can go to the customers and make some like interview with them, ask them, tell them idea. And we spent probably 500+ different calls with potential customers, and not all of them buy this product, but they probably can give you feedback which you can use for the like some maybe go to market strategy or for some next steps.
Yeah, that's echoing many of the people that have come before you have said sort of the same thing. Get it out there, find that product market fit, get the feedback.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're operating in your little black box, that you
Try to sell more earlier than you can.
Yeah, and if you don't even have the product yet, you can still talk to people. You can still have those conversations.
Because we could never have a final version of the product, because so any entrepreneur, which I know them, like any founder, they want to have changed their product. They don't like it at all. They have like a lot of ideas to upgrade it. That's why don't wait for the like normal version of the product. You have today something, try to sell this today.
Yep. In like 60 seconds, so we'll be wrapped up. Okay, so we have he's getting called out. They won minutes ago, so so congratulations again on that. I think would be remiss without saying something about the Pro-Forma and the Texas AI Challenge and the organizers who put this on. Can you just let folks know really quickly how this journey's been, and if you would encourage folks in the future to apply?
Yeah, first of all, we received 3 or 4 invitations from different guys in different organizations to try to apply it. And when I first, maybe to be honest, when I first time look at this form, I think, oh, it's maybe something complicated. I don't have enough time to fill this deep form, because usually like you filled like 15 fields or something, but in this place you need to have a lot of important data. Step by step, when we fill something, we have additional homework. And for me, it's like last week looks like acceleration, like a big accelerator from Dallas. So I love it, and thank you, Wade, Alex, Dustin, all this team, because it's like amazing, fantastic company who do something very cool for Dallas and for North Texas.
Yeah, so check out Pro-Forma if you haven't yet. If you're a startup founder or someone who's looking to do a startup, check out Big Sister AI. We'll have a link to that in the show notes in the newsletter. And again, Val, thanks again to you for being on, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back, folks. We're back at the Texas AI Challenge, brought to you by Pro-Forma. And right now, again, we're lucky to have Adam Redmond of Tully. Tully was the second place winner in the challenge that was just announced moments ago. So he's hot off of that news. And so Adam, thanks for joining us, and please just tell us about Tully and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tully. We are a simplified software platform for athletic organizations to collect, analyze, and share their athlete performance data. So we work with organizations from public and private schools to private training facilities to hospital systems across the country, and helping them really start to monitor and manage their athlete development and the data around that. And now we're building tools layering in to add advanced insights and valuable pieces for both the athlete and administrators and owners.
So is that information specifically performance based, like via sabermetrics, or are you adding like the medical and training type and things on top of it?
Yeah, so we're focused on sports performance, strength conditioning. So kind of all the training an athlete's doing off the field, for the practice field or game field. Our tool is flexible enough that we have organizations tracking, free throw percentage, batting average, things like that. But our core 75% of the data on the platform is all of the weight room training, the explosive measurements. So the kind of the things an athlete's doing most of the year when they're not playing their sport.
And so those metrics have been captured, at the highest levels for years and years and years. But now we're seeing it. I'm having nieces and nephews in AAU sports and things. It's happening, 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds.
Yep.
And can you just talk about how that explosive growth, and not even that, the potential market for you guys?
Yeah, that's what we've been interested in from day one. So my background as an athlete, I played in the NFL for 6 years, and at that core, everything's evaluated, everything's data driven. but I kind of came out of professional sports a little disillusioned with the value it gave me. It didn't really change my process. It didn't really affect my coaches. It was really just an evaluation tool. And so what we try to do is kind of use data, the tailwinds around data and analytics in a way that's more built for buy-in and engagement for the athlete. And so an athlete, their parents, they can see that progress, even as minuscule as it might be in a short term to a long-term growth. And why we get to work with athletes from age 10 up until college professional ranks. You get to really track that progress. It can be really powerful as well.
And so, how could parents or sports management teams or things get in touch with you guys and understand more about what the product offers?
Yeah, so right now we're focused on B2B. So we're talking to school districts, athletic associations, private facilities as well. But our product is so athlete facing that our parents all have athlete accounts. So whether you're in a booster club, an organization, even parents of a club organization, we're headquartered in McKinney, Texas. But anybody has athletes in youth sports who's maybe looking as a parent looking for more information, a better understanding of what their child is doing in their training and what those development goals might look like. That's a great opportunity to kind of connect and learn about Tully and maybe introduce us to that organization.
Yeah, we have training camp starting for football across Texas, which is huge. So I'm sure there's boosters out there listening. Get in touch with them and see if you can get it on board at your school. That's great. And so as an athlete, as a pro athlete, what's harder, going through that training camp or about being a co-founder of a startup?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a startup. It's definitely physically not as much, but I kind of miss a little physicality. I think the grind, it's really is kind of all consuming. It's your baby. It's you get all the reward and all the criticism, and it's up to us. So I've learned a ton the last 3 years, and Lena, my co-founder, Mike Mancinelli, my wife, owns her own business. So we lean on each other. So it's a constant battle. It's a constant grind, but I've loved both experiences.
Yeah, as a startup owner myself, I tell people it's a different kind of stress. It's your stress. So it's still stressful, but at the end of the day, it's like you don't have to really answer to anybody else except your teammates. So that's great. As Pro-Forma has put on a great event here and to basically lift up, startups, what would your advice be for people who are kind of looking on the outside or thinking they have this great idea? What kind of steps or advice would you give them?
The best thing we did was we took time at the initial outset of exploring the market, just customer discovery. A book I talk about too much is the mom test, and it's to go take an idea and go figure out how to get feedback on it. So if you're interested in industry, it doesn't have to be something as well as sports for me, but learn about it, validate it, the idea. And then from that point, kind of use that as momentum, that juice from that is to kind of go out there and just try to get people, find a way to beta test it, be scrappy, get that feedback as often and as quickly as you can. That's been huge for us. We had a couple of pivots along the way. We have the idea as it is today has developed very organically from a lot of criticism and failures. So.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's a recurring theme in this podcast is that I've told people you have to be able to pivot more than Dr. J. How I started my company is not how it is today.
Exactly.
And I think faith in your ability to figure things out is the single most important thing.
Exactly.
And just keep trying. And the beauty is these tools can help you, LLMs and things like that to get to where you need to get. But again, congratulations and looking forward to the growth and things that you have. And I'm sure you guys will be back supporting the event in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Welcome back, Texas AI Challenge. We're here with FloEver Health and Lamanda Ballard, the CEO and founder, about that. They finished third place out of 100 plus startups at the Pro-Forma Texas AI Challenge. So congratulations first and foremost to that. And then now if you just introduce yourself and tell us a little about your amazing app, your amazing platform.
Absolutely. So I'm Lamanda Ballard, founder and CEO of FloEver Health. We are a digital health tech platform helping women balance their hormones and manage chronic conditions through AI technology that helps women get an early, more accurate diagnosis for whatever they're experiencing. And then we connect them with what we like to call culturally competent doctors.
And so as a man, I can't exactly relate to the problems and needs of women in that space, other than I know you guys have it much harder than men. And so what made you want to tackle this obviously massive challenge and very sensitive, subject for many any women, and what made you want to tackle that?
Absolutely. So I've actually been in women's health advocacy for the past 7 years. I have a
Okay.
nonprofit called FloCode where we provide free access to menstrual products to women who are underserved in Texas. So we've been doing the work for a while, but when I have my own health experience where my doctor misdiagnosed me with PCOS, that was kind of alarming because not only did she misdiagnose me, but her first recommendation was for me to get a hysterectomy at 31. So realizing that I had to advocate for myself, I ended up seeking a second opinion. And through that second opinion, I found a doctor who walked me through 13 different options. A hysterectomy was the very last one. And so having that experience made me realize I can only imagine how many other women feel like they're not seen or heard by their physicians and they need that type of access. So that's how we started.
That's I guess a great way. You saw a problem, you want to solve it. That's awesome. And what has your journey been like from as a founder? When, like, what point of your career were you in? Like, of your life were you in when you just decided to make that plunge? And why did you decide to go feet first?
Yeah, honestly, I was a senior director in digital marketing at the number one company in Robert Smith's portfolio. So making that decision to leave was hard, but more importantly, I realized that there are women who not only need this type of service, but there's an opportunity for me to build something that could potentially be global. And so that made me realize, okay, you're going to have to pivot from doing corporate, which you've been doing for the past 11 years, and I've been in tech for so long, and try something else. And honestly, it may not work, it may fail, but that leap of faith is what's going to take you far. And through that, I ended up doing R&D for months. And in March, I decided to launch my website. 2 weeks later, I won $100,000 grant. And I felt like that was the validation I needed that I was building something that was worthy.
No, that's fantastic. That's a great journey. Like, tell folks all the time, you just have to take that plunge, take that first step. You never know what's going to go. And then obviously, so with your journey, how have you found that like technology has helped you on that journey? Obviously, we tell people on this podcast specifically, like, utilize these tools like the LLMs to say, hey, I think there's a product market fit or a product idea. What do you do that research, that market research? Has that helped accelerate you? And also, obviously, with the development side as well.
Absolutely. I feel like, for one, coming from corporate and transitioning to the startup environment is completely different. The ecosystem is different. But more importantly, like, how you tell stories is different. So for us, it was me learning that for founders, storytelling is key when it comes to trying to secure any type of investment. So I would leverage platforms like Anthropic and, Claude AI or even ChatGPT to figure out, well, what are the steps I need to take to where my goals are going. And so, it may tell me, well, you need a financial model. Okay, well, let me research some resources. I found LivePlan, right? What are some opportunities for me to tell my story better? What gaps am I missing? So I don't use AI to do the work for me, but I use it as a support tool. And that has probably helped us get further along in our journey more than anything because you're not stuck trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, we like to say that AI is a tool, and you should utilize it like a tool. You still needs your industry knowledge, your experience, your foresight and thought. But it is a tool that, wielded in the right hands, it can do amazing things. From your journey with the Texas AI Challenge, can you talk about how that's been, that process has been?
Yeah, I will say the Texas AI Challenge was challenging only because this is not my first pitch competition, but it is the first one where, like, there is certain criteria to get to where you're trying to go. So I think for me, it was like, well, I love this because we're talking about launching our pre-seed round. These are the things investors are looking for. I found so much value the moment I found out that the semifinals was getting feedback. I was ready for that feedback so I could take off running. I didn't even want to pitch anymore,
Yeah.
but it was just because that's what we need. And knowing the perspective of investors that I haven't met and having them see my pitch at a full scale and give me that feedback is so valuable. And then also giving us access to that Pro-Forma tool to build out our financial model and help us analyze some of those data points that we, would do manually, whether that was through Excel or a different platform. Phenomenal. So I thought it was amazing. I don't feel like placing third means that what we're building is not amazing. I think if anything, it gave me more access.
That's fantastic. And the platform is amazing. I was one of the semifinalist judges. So of the final 12 semifinalists, and that's when I was first introduced to the actual platform and saw the documents that you guys produced to pitch to the judges. And it's fantastic. And it's stuff, as a founder, I've been 2 years into I haven't done all of that work, and I probably need to go through that.
It prepares you.
Yeah, it definitely prepares you. And again, I think because we get focused on the actual building, right? And solving the problem, we don't think about the business side. And with this, the stuff we like to do is to solve the problem. But to actually hit that growth, you have to juggle both, right?
And it's one less thing I have to do for my pre-seed round.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so thanks again for joining us. Is there anything like you'd like to say to anybody who's maybe on the fence, or especially maybe to, I know women founders is big in Texas specifically. If anybody would like reach out, hey, go for it.
I feel like if anything, if you have an idea and you want to make sure that you're building something that's worthy, validate it first. I
Mhm.
think that was the biggest thing I learned with doing R&D for months, finding out who my competitors would be, and then also figuring out what value can I bring if I bring something that may be a copy and paste from another company. So I think for us, we've always leaned in on the data being our mode. So I encourage anybody else who's thinking about becoming a founder, especially women founders, no matter how complex it may get, take the leap of faith, but also do your research to validate what you're trying to build.
And that's something we've heard echoed from everybody. Find that product market fit. Talk to the people that you're trying to solve the problem for the most.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic insights. And so thank you again for being here, Lamanda. Congratulations again. And I look forward to seeing what you do next.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. We want to hear about your AI and automation journey, and we'd love for you to get involved with Start Small, Think Big. If you'd like to participate or offer feedback, please reach out to us anytime via email at contact@digitalmeld.io or use the contact form on our website, digitalmeld.io/contact. Also, please help spread the word by liking, subscribing, and sharing our podcasts on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks.